Hey everybody, Jim Perry here. Thanks for joining me today. So I'm out for a walk in a favorite park out in the middle of the woods here, below zero, but it is a gorgeous day, some really light snow coming down. Grateful to be out in the woods again today. Today I've been thinking a lot about some of the many lessons that I've learned through metal detecting in my first year of practicing this great hobby. And today I really spent some time thinking about the fact that we dig an awful lot of trash as detectorists. For every treasure, we might dig 10 or 20 items of trash. But we also dig a lot of items that we don't know what they are. And the fact is that just because you don't know what something is, doesn't make it trash. I've had several instances this year of throwing away something simply because I didn't know what it was and assuming that it was trash when it turned out not to be that. So I'd like to share a few examples of this with you today from this year. So last night I was watching some YouTube videos about detecting, and I ran across a video where they had dug a bridle rosette. And a bridle rosette would be normally a piece of metal that would connect and guide the strap that goes across the brow of a horse with the strap that goes down along its cheekbone. And some of these are very decorative, some of them are very plain. And the detectorists in this video happened to dig one, and it had a flower on it. And it's about the size of probably a silver dollar. And I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. I'd like to dig one of those sometime. And then they turned it over, and I instantly recognized it. Now on the back, all it really was, there was no design on the back, but it was filled in with lead. And they were saying that the post, the pin had broken off of it, but it had the lead that was still there. And then I recalled digging this item a couple of months ago from a farm field. It was a field that I had assumed had I knew there was a homestead on it, but I assumed that the homestead was from probably the mid to late 1800s. I knew that the home and barns were there through 1953, but gone soon after that. But as simple as this is, there's really nothing there. I recognized this in their video instantly and realized that this item that I almost threw away, I dug this in a field where there was all kinds of trash, old aluminum and sheet metal everywhere. And I had dug this. Now there's a design on the other side, and I'll show you that in a bit. I saw that design that day, but I assumed that it was trash because the back here, it looked like it was cement or some glue or something on the back. Well, it turns out the back here is filled in with lead. And I got on Google, knowing that obviously this was going to be a bridle rosette, and this is the item that I had found. It's been cleaned up since I found it. I'll throw some pictures of it from when I found it that day. It does have a horseshoe on it, and it says good luck. So I went on Google and did a little bit of searching, and very quickly similar items, identical items, came up to this item. This would be a bridle rosette, and from all of the information that I found today, it appears to be from in the 1860s. So this item that I almost threw away, thinking that it was trash, actually is going to go in my treasure box. It's really a 160-year-old bridle rosette that, again, I thought was trash originally and almost threw away. The next item I'd like to share with you is an item that I'm very grateful to have found. I had actually found one of these early in the summer and threw it away. This is what it is. If you don't recognize what this is, I'll tell you in just a bit. I dug one of these early in the summer, and it ironically sat in my Ford vehicle for a couple of months, and I never really figured out what it was. And after a couple of months of it sitting in there, I did end up throwing one of these away. And soon after I threw it away, I saw a post online where someone had dug one of these and said how happy they were to have found one. This happens to be the valve stem dust cap to a Model T Ford. Now, between the years 1908 and 1927, Ford made over 15 million Model T autos. So 4 tires, 15 million times 4 is 60 million of these have floated around somewhere in the world since then. Not a rare item, but it was a first for me, and the first that I found I ended up throwing away. Very grateful to find one after that. I found this on a property that the home itself was built in 1896, and I found it directly behind the home by the back door, which is where, alongside the driveway, the Model T would have been pulled in right behind the home and parked behind there. At some point, this fell off the vehicle and ended up underneath probably a little bit of grass or maybe under snow and got buried, and was there for me to pull out of the ground, potentially 100 to almost 120 years later. Very grateful for that find. Not trash. Turns out that it was treasure, and unfortunately I threw the first one away, but very, very grateful to have a second chance at finding one. The third item that I'd like to share with you is really, really small. And at one point, I would have no clue what this is. I don't know if it's really going to show up very well. This is just the smallest chunk of metal, and there's a little slit right in the middle where there's a little piece of metal that flaps back and forth. This is valuable to me because it really was the first clue that there was a structure on the site where I found it. I had many times seen videos of people finding full harmonica reeds. So this would be a piece of metal that would sit in the middle of a harmonica, and I'm not sure if, again, those flaps are showing very well on here, but as air was blown into or sucked out of a harmonica, those little flaps would vibrate back and forth and create the sound that we all know is a harmonica. Now, had I not seen those videos previously, I would have had no clue that this teeny tiny chunk of metal, it's so small it's back inside my pocket and I've lost it in there, that this teeny tiny chunk of metal actually would be valuable to me. And not valuable in that there was a monetary value, not even valuable that I would probably show it to a whole lot of people, but valuable in the fact that where I found it, I happened to believe I may have found an old cabin cellar, probably from in the 1800s. And I was looking for any evidence that day of there actually being something there. And then finding a harmonica reed really was the beginning of solidifying the fact that clearly there was a structure there. A couple of the other items I found really made it very clear that there was a structure there. People had been there. It's not actually very far from where I'm out hiking right now. Again, had I not known that by seeing videos before, I would have assumed that it was trash. Turns out that it was valuable to me because it let me know that it's a location that I do want to get back to in the spring when the ground has thawed. Lesson learned. Just because we don't know what something is doesn't make it trash. Sometimes it might be treasure. So sometimes it is good to hold on to things, not knowing for sure what they are. Obviously, as detectivists, we can't hold on to every item. That's not realistically, it's not sustainable. But doing your research might just allow you to figure out that what you are throwing away or could potentially throw away is not trash. In fact, it actually might be a treasure. Something to consider today. Thanks for joining me for another adventure. I'm going to head back out toward my vehicle. It's really quite cold out here when I'm not moving. I hope to see you soon.